Hello, I'm the Pink Phantom, and this is my podcast. Join me as I delve into the world of games and gaming, and especially old school RPGs. Together, let's voyage into the astral realm and check out my Phantom Thoughts. In this episode, I respond to a call from Jason from the Nerds RPG Variety Cast. Check out his podcast, link in the show notes. I talk briefly about the way that magic is presented in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide, and, of course, more from the world where we discuss the tales of the Dragon Slayers. So let's get to it.
Hey, Jason here. Just want to comment really quickly on your latest episode. I know people talk about how the old games aren't designed well and thought wasn't put into them or play tested and they were just throwing stuff at the wall. But when you look at AD&D, really, there's a ton of thought put into it. And the way you pointed out there, where the different character generation methods for PCs and for NPCs are really designed to have PCs be slightly better than the NPCs, shows that. You know, it might not be the best organized set of rules in the world, and it might contradict here and there, but Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition definitely had a lot of thought put into it, a lot of effort put into it, and especially if we don't consider the 1.5 stuff. If we stop like at 84, if we don't add in Oriental Ventures and Unearthed Arcana and all that stuff that came later, if we keep to the earlier stuff, it actually works pretty darn well and makes a lot of sense. Once you start adding some of the other stuff, it starts getting wonky. But any system, once you add enough stuff to it, starts to fall apart under its own weight. Anyhow, great episode. Really enjoying the actual play, solo play, and looking forward to what you do next. Take care.
Thank you for the call, Jason. Yeah, I think people do underestimate those old rule sets because of the way they're organized. But when you look at where they came from, it's really understandable why they are kind of organized or not organized the way they are, because these are rules that are working rule sets. They're not, well, here's a neat idea, here's a neat mechanic, we're going to work with this. This is stuff that was put together and used for years and years before it was ever published in any form. So you have these established sets of rules that work. They worked for game groups for years. And then, two guys got together and tried to write them all down and organize them in a way that made sense to them. And, they're based on their mindset, the way they played, based on their background as war gamers, so that they were putting that into their rule set, the kind of rules that they had seen before. But, they're established rules. And I think a lot of people don't realize exactly how established they were. It wasn't, here's a neat idea, put stuff together, play test it for a year or so, and then release it. It was years and years of experience. But then it looked kind of haphazard because they really had nothing to go by. There were no other RPGs to base how their rules are set and say, well, we need to organize it like this or not organize it like this. And there's always been that argument in the wargaming community, should the rules be put together in a way that are easy to reference, or should it be put together in a way that are easy to learn? And how do you take this unique experience with the first RPGs? How do you take this unique experience and communicate it? But yeah, it's easy to underestimate them because, just of the fact that they were the first. On the one hand, they were the first, so they look amateurish the way sometimes they're put together. But on the other hand, they're not amateurish because they work. These are rules that work and work for people. Thank you for the call. I want to spend a few minutes briefly talking about magic in AD&D, some things that I ran across in the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide that just kind of struck me. One is, we talk about the three components of spell casting. We have the verbal, the somatic, and the material. And this is from the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. The spoken words trigger the release of magic energy, and the hand movements are usually required in order to control and specify the direction, target, area, etc. of the spell effects. When the spell is released, energy usually flows to the prime material plane from the positive or negative material plane. To replace it, something must flow back in reverse. The dissolution and destruction of material components provides the energy that balances out this flow through the principle of similarity. Sometimes this destruction is very slow, as with the case of Druid Mistletoe. Those spells without apparent material components are actually utilizing the air exhaled by the magic user in the utterance of the spell. So this is something that, this is physics, is what we're talking about here. We're talking about, matter and energy can be neither created nor destroyed. You have to sacrifice something in order to draw in magic to achieve a desired effect. And also, there's a principle of similarity at work, where the material components affect what the spell effect is going to be. That's pretty astonishing concept. A lot of times magic isn't really explained. It's just this bland thing. You're drawing energy, you're moving it around, or you're using, you're just throwing your spell points around or whatever. But this is talking about it like a science in a way. But it's also, discussing what the parts do. And when you know what the parts do, then some stuff comes to idea. If you don't have material components, or if for some reason you can't draw on that energy from other planes, what happens? And it actually covers this a little bit too. It says, the release of the word sound stored energy is not particularly debilitating to the spellcaster, as he or she has gathered the energy over a course of time prior to the loosing of the power. It comes from outside the spellcaster, not from his or her own vital essence. The power to activate even a first-level spell will leave a spellcaster weak and shaking as if it were drawn from his or her personal energy. And a third-level spell would almost certainly totally drain the caster's body of life. So you're drawing on this tremendous amount of energy from outside of yourself, but you have to replace it to balance it out. And but the material components are small. So this is nuclear energy. This is, little tiny nuclei of atoms releasing amazing energy, so you get an atomic blast level of energy from, a magical perspective. And thinking about that way, there's all kinds of things you could do. There could be situations or areas where the energy is, where you're blocked off from connecting to the positive and negative material planes or other planes of existence to draw energy from. If you have spells, especially from, say, a cleric standpoint, that are drawing from particular gods, if you're cut off from those planes, do you get to cast spells? Can you use spells in certain areas? That's what part of it. Magic does anti-magic affect? Does it block you from the planes? Does it block you from just simply being able to form the energy into something? Does it dissipate the energy as soon as it disappears? Does it keep the material components from degrading? Maybe there's different types of anti-magic. The other thing that struck me was how magic has a memory and knowledge from, and I get this from magic items, from magical books that are listed in AD&D, the AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide, in the treasure section, the manuals and the librams. Here's from the Librum of Gameful Conjuration, which is for neutral magic users. If a character of this class and alignment spends a full week cloistered and undisturbed pondering its contents, he or she will gain experience points sufficient to place him or her at exactly the midpoint of the next higher level. When this occurs, the librum will disappear, and that same character can never benefit from reading such a work. Never again benefit from reading such a work. Any non-neutral magic user reading so much as a line of this will take 5 to 20 points of damage and be unconscious for a like number of turns, and must seek a cleric to atone in order to regain the ability to progress and experience. Any non-magic user perusing the work will be required to save versus magic in order to avoid insanity. Those characters going insane must receive a remove curse and rest for a month or have a cleric heal them. I mean, it knows. When you read through the manual, the magic knows what you are and knows exactly what benefit to give you. Gives you the enough experience points sufficient to place him or her exactly at the midpoint of the next higher level. So if you read it at 3rd level versus reading it at 7th level versus reading it at 11th level, you need a different number of experience points to reach that point. It knows. From the manual Puissant Skill at Arms, which is for fighters, any paladin or ranger will understand the work, but cannot benefit either class. So just for fighters. Any cleric, including druid, thief, including assassin or monk, who reads the manual will not understand it. If a magic user, or including illusionist, so much as scans a few of its letters, he or she will be stunned for 1 to 6 turns and lose 10,000 to 60,000 experience points, as the work is so opposed to the magic using profession. Only one person only one perusal of the work will benefit the same character. Again and again, these things, you read through them, you study them, they disappear, and you can never use them again. So all the other books of this same type will know that you use this type of book. Let's see, there's one more thing from the Manual of Bodily Health, which gives you 1 point of constitution if you follow its regimen. The book disappears immediately upon completion of its contents. The 1 point constitution is gained only after the prescribed regimen is followed. In 3 months, the knowledge of the secrets to bodily health will be forgotten. The knowledge cannot be articulated or recorded by the reader. I mean, that level of, it's almost like we're talking about AI here. In an era, written in an era when there was no such thing as AI, when computers were just in their formative years. It's not just, a program or something that anybody can benefit from. It's not just, this useful item that moves around that maybe multiple people can use. It's not something that you can read and then improve upon or essentially recast, turn into a scroll or something. You can benefit from it one time and then that's it. And for the ones that are based on class or alignment, if you try to use it, there are consequences. None of them read as deadly consequences, but they're virtually deadly consequences because you're in for a world of hurt and you're going to need a lot of help to recover from it. So I don't really have anything specific to say about all of this. I just thought these were some amazing concepts that, I've read this stuff before, and of course I knew the stuff about how the books can be used one time and then they disappear. But just the way magic is put together in this AD&D world is pretty remarkable when you think about it. And that was something I wanted to point out. I'd like to hear your point of view. Please let me know. And now, more from my solo AD&D RPG campaign, Tales of the Dragon Slayers. We last left our Dragon Slayers. They had confronted two small groups of orcs that were the remnants of the larger group they had encountered on the road not quite 4 weeks before. And for the record, this particular band of orcs was called the Raging Snouts. They handily slaughtered most of them. They captured 3 who surrendered and were able to convince them to tell them what they knew about this particular level of the Keep complex. With orc information about a powerful plant-type creature on this level, they took the orcs back downstairs and outside of the keep. After a little council of war, they decided to use the remaining part of the day to begin moving the treasure into the keep. They decided that the side corridor where they found the dead orcs, that most of the party would guard that corridor against anything coming through, and that they would actually put the orc prisoners in front of them where they could keep an eye on them. And Sir Gus would serve as the guard near the secret room where they were going to be stashing the treasure, while the men-at-arms and the valets moved the treasure out of the wagons and off the horses. Quinn remained with Harl in a separate sort of dead-end corridor back behind where the party was stationed, sort of out of the way and out of sight, since Harl was still recovering from his near-death experience. That done, they set up for the night in that same kind of dead-end area. This is near the front of the keep. The way the entrance is, there's a main entrance. There are two small sections of corridor, I guess, to either side of the entrance. So I decided these have like little arrow slits and stuff. They were for keeping watch over the road and over the front of the keep without actually being exposed. And to one side of that main entrance, that's basically all there is. There's a small section of corridor and then that corridor that juts out. So they're taking refuge there and then keeping watch on the rest so that they can rest overnight. After a morning meal, a small group of the horsemen took the orcs back to the fort to be turned in there. The remainder of the group, along with Harl and Quinn, would set up camp outside so they would not be potentially exposed to any of the dangers from within the rest of the keep/dungeon while the party was upstairs trying to clear that top floor. Before the party returns to the upper level, I just wanted to say a couple things about how this level is set up. One of the creatures that I rolled up for a room there were shriekers. This is what the orcs were talking about that made the terrible noise. And while reading the description of the shriekers, it said that they were a favorite food item of purple worms and shambling mounds. Now, there was a room behind a secret door, behind a big door, and then behind a secret door, that the room rolled up just treasure. And it was on the very edge of this level, and I thought it would make sense that maybe since this was an older structure that the humans had just turned into sort of a keep and made modifications to. It was something that was older. It's an older dungeon. Since this room was on the outside of this upper level, it would have crumbled in and it would have gotten vegetation into it. Maybe a local creek floods into it, and this would be a good place for a shambling mound to be. So that it turned into, instead of just being a room with treasure, it's treasure with a shambling mound. Now, I don't know how smart this was because I didn't really look a lot at the shambling mound statistics before I got to it. And shambling mounds are pretty strong. They're armor class 0. They have 8 to 11 hit dice. I'm going to let this one have 11 hit dice. And weapons only do half damage to them. So it's a pretty big challenge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and roll up this guy's hit points before the party makes its way upstairs, because there's several different ways it could encounter this creature, and I haven't done that. So here we go. 8 hit dice, 8 rolls. That's a 4. That's a 1. That's a 1. That's a 4. Anyone else have dice that just like to repeat numbers sometimes? It's a 5. That's a 6. That's a 4. And that's a 3. So let's see if we add all this up. 5, 10, 15, 25, 28 hit points. Well, that's not terrible. It could have been a lot worse. The party proceeds back up the stairs. They find themselves in the short section of corridor where the opening to the left where they went before to encounter the orcs, and a door a little further ahead on the right. The orcs had said that the shriekers were a ways in through that door into a chamber that has a secret door in it, and north of where the orcs were through that opening, there is a large door that didn't appear to lead anywhere. Since the shriekers seem to cause a creature to show up with its noise, they decide that first they'll try to investigate that room that doesn't appear to have anything in it. Maybe they can rule it out as anything that's dangerous. So they head through the open corridor, through the 20-foot corridor, up the left hand of the Y intersection, and then through about 30 more feet straight after that section ends, about 10 feet past the little corridor where they fought the orcs in the room. They come to a large door set in the wall. They open it up, and yes, it does indeed appear to be empty. They go to search. Let's check with Bernie. He rolls a 2. He finds a secret door. This is where the Shambling Mound lives. Is he here? 30% chance to find in the lair. And with a 23, it's in there. So now we're going to roll for surprise. Is the party surprised to find the Shambling Mound? On a roll of a 5, they're not. Does the party surprise the Shambling Mound? On a roll of 6, they don't. Roll initiative. The party gets a 6. Shambling Mound gets a 1. The party goes first. Sir Gus yells at his comrades to get around behind it. This is a 20 by 20 foot room. This thing is about 6 feet wide. It's about 6 feet tall, 6 or 7 feet tall. So they do have ample space to get around it. Gus wades in to draw its attention by attacking from the front. All members of the party need a 20 to hit this armor class 0 creature. And with a 3, Gus is not able to get through its tough exterior. Bernie is up next. He gets around behind it. He's going to try for the backstab with his longsword. And with a 16, let's see, with his bonus of 4, that is going to be just enough to hit. He's going to roll a d12, since this is classified as a large-sized creature. That's a 4, plus his damage of 4. Normally, he would get to double that, but because this creature takes half damage from weapons, he'll just take 8 points of damage. Next up is Sven. He's going to strike with his trident. He has a plus 6 to hit. Oh, that's the d12. That's not going to work. He rolls a 17. So that's enough to hit. A trident against large-sized creatures does 3d3 to 12 points of damage. Let's see, that would be a d10 plus 2, wouldn't it? He rolls a 6 plus 2. That's 8 points of damage, plus his damage bonus of 7. That's a total of 15. Half of that is 8. So they've got it, knocked it down to 12 hit points from its original 28. Now Edgar is going to cast Entangle. Now Entangle normally causes local vegetation to reach up and grab whatever's in the area. Since the creature itself is a plant, I'm going to say it's going to get bound up if it fails its saving throw. As a 8 hit dice creature, its saving throw is going to be 13. So 13 or higher or lower, and it will save versus spell. And it rolls a 20. So it is bound up within itself. It's going to have difficulty moving. Let's see what the spell actually says here. Hold on a second. I'm going to pause this while I check the book here. By means of this spell, the druid is able to cause plants in the area of effect to entangle creature within this area. The grasses, weeds, bushes, and even trees wrap, twist, and entwine about creatures, thus holding them fast for the duration of the spell. If any creature in the area of the effect makes a saving throw, the effect of the spell is to slow its movement by 50%. So it would have slowed him down. It's holding him pretty tight. I'm going to rule it that this Shambling Mound can't move but it can still strike out. It's still strong enough within its own self that it can strike, but it's not necessarily going to be able to move around, as if it's very restricted. And that will give the party, let's see, if a creature is held by both legs or something like that, they get a +4 to attack. So they'll get a +4 in addition to any of their other bonuses. I think I actually forgot to give Sven a +2 and Bernie a +2, but Bernie didn't need it and Sven would have missed anyway. So, all right, on with the combat. That leaves Cudgel. Cudgel is going to cast his magic missile spell. It will automatically hit. The damage will not be reduced. And he rolls a 3, so that's 4 points of damage. So now it is the turn of the Shambling Mound, and it is going to get... Normally it gets 2 attacks. Let's say it gets 1 attack. So 1 attack, and it can't turn to the ones that's facing it, that's behind it. So Sir Gus is in front. Sir Gus gets the attack. This thing is going to only needs an 18 to hit Sir Gus. So here we go. It rolls a 20. Okay, so, all right. 2 to 16 points of damage. All right. That is a 2. And that is a 6. Because the Shambler rolled 2 dice, Gus's armor will absorb 4 points of that 8 points and only take 4 points of damage. Round 2, initiative. The Shambling Mound, a 5. The party, a 4. So it's going to go first again. It's going to go first. And it swings at Sir Gus again. And with a 17, it just misses. And that's a really good thing for Sir Gus, because even though his armor absorbed all that damage, if the Shambling Mound is hit with its second attack, any creature it hits with 2 attacks gets drawn into it and suffocates in 2 to 8 rounds. So good for Sir Gus. So Sir Gus is going to strike back with a 6. He misses. Bernie is going to be attacking from the back again with a 16. Bernie does it again. All right. D12 plus 4. 3 plus 4 is 7. It would double for backstab, but halved for the creature. So the creature is down to 1 hit point. So here comes Sven. Sven is plus 6 from strength and magic weapon, plus 4 because it's held pretty tightly, and plus 2. So it's plus 12 all total for Sven. And with an 18, he only needed a little bit of that. And let's see, Sven is also attacking with a longsword. Has a plus 7 bonus on damage. Well, and that's going to do it. So 7 on the die, 7 for damage, 7 damage total. And the Shambling Mound goes down. Wow, that was a lot less deadly than I thought it was going to be. I saw what a Shambling Mound could be. Oh, wow. All right. Whew. So with the Shambling Mound down, the party gets a chance to really take their first look around the room. It's a 20 by 20 room. It has a door to the south. A search of the room, they discover 3 scrolls, a map, a potion, a ring, and a staff. I think I forgot to mention after the last combat with the orcs, when they opened, I said they opened the chest. I didn't say what it was. They found 12 gems, 2 pieces of jewelry, a scroll, and a map. So, pretty good to them. Tough shot from the Shambling Mound there. But good thing Sir Gus is wearing full plate, because, wow. Sir Gus will lay hands on himself to heal a couple of points of damage. So after recovering from the battle and recovering the treasure, the party decides to head through the door to the south. Since they know the orcs obviously never made it this far, Bernie is going to check for traps, and attempt to listen at the door to see if he can hear what's beyond it. So, checking for traps, he's 25%. He rolls a 61. He doesn't find anything. He doesn't know if it's trapped or not. Hear noise, he only has a 15% chance, and with an 86%, he doesn't hear anything at all. In AD&D, all doors are difficult to open. Sir Gus is going to take a shot at this. With his strength, he succeeds on a roll of 1 to a 5 on a d6. And with a 3, he opens the door. And the party finds themselves facing 2 giant beetles. And that's where we'll start next time. The opening music of this podcast is Strength of the Titans, and the closing music is Late Night Radio, both by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Thank you for listening to Phantom Thoughts. I would love to hear your feedback. You don't have to be part of the show. If you want to contact me and let me know, hey, these are for your eyes only, I just wanted to give you thoughts, ideas, response, and it's really for your eyes or ears only, that's absolutely fine. I'd love to hear from you either way. So just let me know when you contact me. Just, I don't want to be part of the show. There are lots of different ways you can contact me. You can send me an email at phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. And that can be a regular email, or you can attach an audio file to it. You can use the message button on my podcast site on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/phantom thoughts. You can contact me via my Google Voice number, 864-209-1441. You can contact me via SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/phantom thoughts. You can contact me on Discord, The Pink Phantom. All this contact information is listed in the show notes of every episode. And thank you for those who call in. Thank you for those who don't call in. I appreciate you listening and hope you'll listen again next time. Until then, I hope you have a great day.